Hi, I have the pleasure today of introducing the president of the American Academy of Couple and Family Psychology, Dr. Anthony Chambers. Good afternoon, Dr. Chambers.
Oh, good morning to you. Afternoon, rather. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for joining us. Uh, we just have several questions I think that could be valuable for anybody thinking about the Academy and getting an ABIP. I guess the first question is, what was your journey like in deciding to become an integrative couple and family psychologist?
Oh, great question. Well, I think I probably have to go back to my college days, to be very honest. So I went to an historically Black college and university, and when I was in college and reflecting on all the sorts of societal issues that we tend to do when we're in college, started to really obviously realize that African Americans, for instance, were at the top of a bad list or at the bottom of a good list in terms of problems and concerns. And so I tried to start to think about what are the ways that might be helpful to be able to make an impact. And when I was reflecting on my own personal life as well as my younger brother and some of the successes that we've had, realizing that education and family were really at the heart of it. That if we could be able to strengthen people's families and those relationships, that there was a real opportunity to be able to make a difference. And so I would say that really planted the seed for wanting to go into the field of psychology and really focusing on couples and families. And so I think that was the start of it. And I would say when I got to graduate school and learning about all the different models of psychotherapy, a couple of things kind of came to my mind. One is that, all the models seem to do well for some people and none of the models work for everyone. And so I really started to, think about, what are some of the best or some of the things from each model and how can we potentially pull them together? Because I had a hard time being so rigidly in one camp and not appreciating some of the benefits of the other perspectives and the other models. So I would say that was another piece. And then when I did my internship, I was up at Harvard Medical School and Mass General Hospital, and I worked with Dr. Ann Fischel, who was the director of the Couple and Family Clinic there. And that really sort of solidified my sense of wanting to work with from an integrative perspective. And then I was fortunate to do a postdoc at the Family Institute at Northwestern University, where I came across the work of Jay Lebeau on common factors, the work of Bill Pensoff on problem-centered therapy, and Doug Brenlin's work on meta frameworks. So the Family Institute really had this strong, rich history of being very integrative. And that was just such a natural fit. So like this perfect, opportunity where my beliefs and the way that I sort of saw the world really sort of aligned with what was happening at the Family Institute, and been there ever since, and have just really appreciated this idea of how we can continue to be more and more integrative, especially as the research continues to bore out the benefits of taking that kind of approach.
That's quite a journey. Thank you for sharing that. And I just, personally want to add, I'm glad you made that journey.
Thank you so much.
you know, and so I was wondering, um, what motivated you to seek an ABIP in couple and family psychology, and what values do you see in obtaining an ABIP?
So a great question. So I will also go back actually even a little bit further. I would say growing up, my parents, my father is a physician, and my mother has her doctorate as well. And one of the things that both of my parents just really stressed to us was the importance of getting the highest credential you can. They're just of being able to seek the highest level of attainment that you can from an educational perspective. So that was sort of inbred in sort of how I was raised, and really obviously had a significant imprint on my life and my life journey. So that was a huge part of that. And then I would actually fast forward and sort of going back also to when I was up at Harvard Medical School, Jessica Henderson Daniels, who was the past president for APA, she's on the faculty at Children's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. And she actually got together and had this sort of really nice program for all of the psychologists of color who were doing either an internship or postdoctoral residency through the Harvard system. She would mentor us and brought us together, and we formed this coalition and group. And she really also imprinted on us the importance of ABAB and board certification and what that does, particularly if you're also working in healthcare settings and things along those lines. So that just sort of, reinforced what I had already been sort of taught by my parents. And then I would say when I came to the Family Institute, both Bill Pinsoff and Jay LeBeau, who are people who really obviously I admire, have been giants in the field, really admiring them and seeing that both of them had their ABAB. And so obviously that also had an impact as well. And then I would say finally was actually when I first got involved with Division 43, Tom Sexton was the president. And he pulled me aside along with Terry Patterson. We were, I think, in Las Vegas, if I recall. And they really sort of twisted my arm and said, hey, you got to do this, the importance of being board certified. And I think they really did a nice job of sort of also extending my sense of purpose around it by really focusing on the identity, and that, you know, really to be a couple and family psychologist, the board certification is the highest level of achievement and the clearest thing that we can be able to demonstrate our expertise and our identity as a profession. And so I would say really the combination of all of those kind of led me to where I'm at today.
Well, I could certainly agree with that. And it leads to sort of the next question, I guess, which is, I am a member of the Academy, but if I wasn't, what would you tell me are the advantages of joining the American Academy of Couple and Family Psychology?
Another really great question. You know, I would actually say, so one of the things that since I took over as presidency, and my presidency is coming to the end by September 1st. But one of the things that really I wanted to start to begin to do is think about how can we really increase our impact with our members. And I would actually say this vehicle right now, this interview, is really the beginnings of that, which is that, you know, trying to be much more current in our delivery of information, and to really provide a sense of community. You know, so we've always done the newsletter, which is the old sort of print way, but we realized there were all types of problems with that. Members weren't always opening them. They were hard to get people to write in and contribute. And, you know, really it was your idea that when we started to talk about, hey, what about if we do a video series and actually start to interview not only our members, but we could also interview newly minted, you know, newly boarded psychologists, and really provide a sense of community of showcasing our talent and being able to have established psychologists in the profession to share their expertise, their clinical wisdom, their research insights. And so I really see that this is just the beginning of the next chapter of the Academy, where we can really become much more cohesive and really find a way of using different mediums to be able to bring us together. And so I really think it's an opportunity, as this is a shared identity and passion for all of us, for us to be able to come together.
Yeah. I mean, I could only echo that. I think the Academy provides us with such an avenue for really meeting other professionals and learning what they're doing. And it's really a valuable network in so many ways. So I certainly appreciate being able to, you know. I guess the final question we have for you, if somebody is thinking about, you know, the field of couple and family psychology, I mean, they may be a psychologist, but they're thinking about specializing in this. What do you think the future holds for them?
Oh, fantastic question. You know, I think for one, I have to start with the pandemic. That I think this pandemic has really highlighted the importance of mental health and behavioral health. You know, the APA has done their annual survey of the stress in America, and the amounts of depression and anxiety are just through at all-time highs. And we know the correlation and the comorbidity between depression and anxiety with coupled distress, for instance, and the negative impacts on parenting. That this is just such, we realize just more than ever the importance of, you know, if we've been focusing on our physical health with the vaccines, it really is also tied to our mental health. So it's really about whole health. And I think the future is really bright for folks who are interested in coming into working with couples and families. I think the stigma of therapy and the importance of mental and behavioral health is only increasing. I would say actually at an all-time high. And so there's a huge need, and we have a shortage of providers relative to the need that's out there. So I think there's such an opportunity for this next generation to be able to see this as a profession that they can be able to go into. So I think that's one really big area. Another, I actually think in terms of the future, you know, APA has really started to make some headway on the idea of being able to create master's programs and accrediting clinical mental health master's programs. And I do think there's an opportunity opportunity for us as a couple and family psychologists to be able to really take advantage of that opportunity as far as I'm concerned, to be able to provide training programs where we can, master's programs generally have more students in the doctoral programs. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to be able to really create sort of an army of well-trained therapists who are focused on couples and family to be able to meet this societal need. And so I think I think it also will help to fortify our identity and the importance of couple and family within the psychological and behavioral health domains to be able to really provide an opportunity. So I think that's another real opportunity for the future. And I think the last one that I would say is, I've been thinking more and more, I know APA has also been thinking about this, but the idea of population health and how can we take a population health perspective to work that we did. So we know if we think about a pyramid, at the top of that pyramid is a relatively small but really significant portion of the population that clearly are in clinical distress. They meet the criteria for a diagnosis, and that's really been our specialty, to be able to deal with the top of that pyramid. But we also know below that there's even a larger group within the population that are at risk of being of having relationship problems, or already having maybe subclinical levels, but are still experiencing some distress. And how do we begin to, to help and reach that population? And then we think at the very bottom of that population is the quote unquote healthy population. But one of the things that we know is that across the lifespan, people will go up and down that pyramid. So even if you're at healthy at one point, you're eventually going to potentially at different moments throughout your life will experience some difficulties. And how can we begin to sort of take a population health approach to the work that we do? This was several years ago, where I actually went to churches. And I remember this one church in particular that I gave a talk to about relationship distress. Actually, we had, to my surprise, about 1,000 people show up for that event. Wow. Also streamed online. But to me, what was most impactful about that is that literally tied to that one event, for maybe 5, 6, 7 years afterwards, I still had people calling me because they said they speak at that event. And that was partly because, I said something to them that hopefully, really stuck with them. And when they found themselves in that kind of position, they said, hey, we should probably go and get some help. And so it really sort of helped to decrease that barrier. So I think as a way of increasing access to people and providing the best information possible, I think is a real important opportunity. So this idea of population health, and even taking a bit of borrowing from our colleagues in public health, Christy Gordon has talked a lot about this, and her and I have had a lot of different conversations. I just think it's such an important opportunity for us to expand the expertise that we have as psychologists to really make an impact on the public.
You make such excellent points that if I wasn't in the field, I'd consider going into it. So I think thank you so much. Any final comments before we have to end?
Well, no, I really appreciate it. I hope that this series that we're launching here will be the beginnings of our members really appreciating and being able to connect with. We have such a diverse and such a deep bench of expertise. And I think the more that we continue to get out in front and being able to showcase people's thoughts and creating a medium that hopefully people find enjoyable, that this will be a clear value add to the Academy. So I really appreciate your leadership in this and the opportunity to be able to talk with you this afternoon.
Oh, well, I so appreciate you joining in this and sharing all of your wonderful ideas and thoughts. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.